There's a massive amount of money that people are simply not receiving. The National Council on Aging puts that figure at roughly $30 billion annually that goes unclaimed. Now, the wealthy and well-connected aren't the ones missing out on that $30 billion. They've got entire teams, attorneys, financial advisors, lobbyists, all working around the clock to make sure not a single dollar slips through their fingers. But everyday Americans? That's a completely different story, and that's exactly what we're working to fix right now. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, these systems are not exactly designed to hold your hand and walk you through every benefit you're entitled to, especially these days. That's been an ongoing challenge for a long time, and it's the whole reason I run this channel and do these live Q&A sessions every single day, to help you cut through all the red tape. I spent several decades working inside that system, so I know how it operates from the inside out. But now we've got a new problem layered on top of everything else. Misinformation has always existed online, but with artificial intelligence entering the picture, there are far more bad actors flooding the space. People figured out that retirees spend time on YouTube and other platforms, so now we've got videos popping up from all corners of the globe, covering Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, retirement planning, and everything in between. And a huge chunk of it is AI-generated garbage. I actually came across one just yesterday. A viewer sent it to me, and I have to tell you, it genuinely looks like a digital copy of me. Let me pull it up so you can see what I'm talking about. Look at this person. 100% fabricated. And if you pay close attention, or maybe you can't quite tell from here, he's got an American flag in the background, same as I do. There's a globe up there too, though it's a little hard to make out. He's got similar lighting. His chair is styled like mine, just in a different color. He's even wearing a blue shirt. I almost always wear blue shirts, which is actually why I deliberately chose something different today. And check out his microphone setup. He's got 2 separate mic stands. This is entirely AI-generated content. The thumbnail on that video was all about some major changes happening by April 17th, and the video runs about 17 minutes. You know what it actually contains? 17 minutes of essentially nothing, just vague filler content that doesn't deliver a single piece of useful information. Yet, despite that, scroll through the comments, and you'll see 160,000 people have watched it. And now, they're panicking. People are asking, what do I do? Do I need to call Social Security? Do I need to physically go down to a Social Security office and deal with all of this? No. The answer is no. And we're going to see more and more of these types of videos deploying fear tactics to drive views. I'll be honest, I do use some urgency in my content too, but it's grounded in verified facts. The truth is, because Congress has failed to take meaningful action over multiple decades, we are heading toward a real reduction. This isn't a scare tactic. This is documented reality. The Social Security Trustees Report and congressional findings both confirm that unless something changes, everyone's Social Security checks will be reduced by approximately 23% in about 81 more payments, because our politicians have done nothing to address it in 40 years. That is reality. And I will keep talking about it until I lose my voice, because we've had 4 decades to solve this problem, and we've done absolutely nothing. I'll keep repeating it until either that cut happens and it's already done, or we actually prevent it from occurring. Some folks are worn out hearing me say it. I get that, but I'm going to keep saying it because 40 years of inaction demands a response. Now let's talk about some of the other nonsense floating around out there. Obviously, there are fake videos making the rounds about stimulus checks, tariff rebates, and similar topics. Raise your hand if you actually received any money from the so-called stimulus, the DOGE dividend, or any tariff rebate that was supposedly going to return money to American households. Yeah, nobody's raising their hand. Then there's the COLA situation. The moment the 2026 cost of living adjustment of 2.8% was announced, I said the very next day someone would already be putting out a video speculating about what the 2027 COLA might be. And sure enough, a viewer forwarded me exactly that video shortly after. We don't know what next year's COLA will be until September at the earliest, so anyone telling you otherwise right now is just making things up. Stop watching those videos. And then there are others, people who genuinely should know better, putting out content claiming that Social Security is monitoring your bank accounts, tracking your international travel, and so on. For the most part, that is completely inaccurate. Here's the distinction that matters. If you're receiving SSI, supplemental security income, that's an entirely different situation. SSI is not the same as regular Social Security retirement benefits. SSI is a needs-based welfare program for individuals with limited income and resources who are either disabled or 65 and older. It comes out of general government funds, not the trust fund. It is not retirement income. It is SSI, a welfare-based program that happens to be administered by the Social Security Administration. Because SSI is welfare-based, when you enroll, you take on certain reporting responsibilities. If money comes into your life, you're required to notify Social Security. If you travel internationally, you have to let them know. Social Security has gotten more proactive about this and essentially says, if you want this assistance, you're giving us permission to periodically check your bank account to see if any unreported income has come in. Or if you travel outside the country for more than 30 days, your benefits can be suspended. That's a relatively recent development. But for everyone else, if you're collecting regular retirement benefits, spousal benefits, divorced spousal benefits, surviving spouse benefits, or SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, Social Security is not watching your bank account. They are not monitoring where you travel internationally, officially and legally anyway. Who knows what's happening behind the scenes with the current administration, but officially, they're not supposed to be doing that. All right, now that we've cleared the air on some of the misinformation out there, let's actually get into what matters, answering your questions and helping people out. Monica asks, my husband turned 67 on December 29th and wants to retire after that date. Can he start the retirement paperwork before his birthday, or does he need to wait until after he turns 67 to begin collecting Social Security? You can absolutely start the process about 3 to 4 months in advance. That's completely fine. If he's already enrolled in Medicare, the whole thing becomes much simpler because he's already in the system. If he signed up for Medicare at 65, whether that's Part A and Part B or just Part A, then actually activating the retirement payments is very straightforward, since the application process is essentially already complete. But here's something I want to flag. Why are you asking about his benefits specifically? That's my question. If you have a friendly relationship with your ex-husband, and you're simply asking on his behalf because you're a thoughtful person, great, that's wonderful. But if you're asking because you've been under the impression that you can't start receiving your own benefits until he files for his, and you've been sitting around waiting, then you may have already lost money. There's something called independently entitled divorced spouse benefits. It's a mouthful, but the acronym is IEDSP. And the key thing to understand is that it doesn't matter whether he's filed for benefits yet. As long as you were married for at least 10 years, you're collecting on your own earnings record, you're at least 62 years old, and he is at least 62, you can file. Final point on this. If you've been divorced for at least 2 years, he doesn't even need to have filed. If you've been waiting a year or two for him to file so you could then claim divorced spousal benefits, you may have lost out on real money. Hopefully that hasn't been the situation. The bottom line, if you were married for 10 years, you've been divorced for 2, you're filing on your own record. The other person doesn't need to be receiving benefits. They just need to be at least 62. And they will never know you filed on their record. It has zero impact on their benefits, their new spouse's benefits, or anything else related to them. Next question. Why does SSI stop when a spouse gets approved for SSDI? This actually has 2 different answers depending on the scenario, so let me cover both. First scenario. If the same person is receiving both SSI and then gets approved for SSDI. If that SSDI amount is higher than the monthly SSI maximum of $994, then SSI stops. Simple as that. The maximum SSI benefit is $994 per month, and if your SSDI exceeds that, SSI goes away. Second scenario, if one person in a household is receiving SSI and then their spouse gets approved for SSDI, because SSI is a needs-based program, the agency looks at the total household situation. That includes income coming into the household from any source. So if the other spouse starts receiving SSDI payments, that counts as household income. Think of it this way. If someone is receiving SSI because they have very low income and limited resources, and they suddenly marry someone with substantial wealth, do you think SSI continues? Of course not. The same logic applies here, just at a different scale. Moving on, someone says they're turning 67 in October and wants to know the best time to file. Similar situation to before. If you're already enrolled in Medicare, activating your retirement income is very simple. Just file about 2 to 3 months before you want payments to start. But here's something worth thinking about, and this applies to the earlier question as well. This year is your full retirement age year. Some people delay filing because they're still working and assume their benefits will be withheld. Here's the reality. If you're under your full retirement age, there's an annual earnings limit. This year it's $24,480. But since you're reaching 67 this year, your limit for the months before your birthday is actually $65,160. And once you turn 67 in October, you can earn as much as you want. There's no earnings cap whatsoever. Here's why I bring this up. If you wait until exactly 67, yes, you'll receive your full benefit amount. But if you file a few months early, your monthly amount will be slightly reduced, maybe $10, $20, $30, $40 less per month. But you'll also receive checks for April, May, June, July, August, and September that you otherwise wouldn't have gotten. That's 6 additional checks. If each one is $2,000, you're looking at $12,000 in your pocket that you wouldn't have had otherwise. Yes, the monthly amount is slightly lower going forward, but you've banked $12,000. Worth thinking about. Also, if you contacted Social Security a month or two ago with any kind of inquiry, that could serve as a protective filing date, which might mean you're eligible for 7 or 8 checks rather than 6. Something to look into. And quick shout out to our community. Even when I can't personally get to every question, the people in this community step in and help each other out. That means a lot. We genuinely have the best community of any channel out there, and you all help each other navigate these questions every single day. Now here's a video question someone sent in. Can I collect my ex-spouse's Social Security and my own simultaneously, or can I collect his at 62 and then switch to my own at 67 or 70? No, that's not how it works. When you file, you're required to file for all benefits you're eligible for at that time. That's called deemed filing. You apply for your own record first, and then if your full retirement benefit is less than half of your ex-spouse's full retirement benefit, you'll receive the difference as a top-up. But you can't cherry-pick one over the other with a living ex-spouse. There was a strategy available prior to 2015 called file and suspend that allowed something similar, but that option no longer exists. The one exception to this rule involves surviving spouse benefits. If your ex-spouse has passed away, you can file for the survivor benefit and delay your own retirement benefit to let it grow. But with a living ex-spouse? No, you cannot do that. Hey Eric, good to see you in the comments. Eric raises an important point about Medicare, Medicaid, and programs like Meals on Wheels, CHIP, and others facing serious pressure right now. He's encouraging everyone to register and vote in their local and state elections. And he's right. There are 36 gubernatorial elections this year. States are going to be in a very difficult position, particularly around Medicaid and SNAP, because they're about to receive significantly less federal support. The federal government has decided to redirect hundreds of billions of dollars, essentially shifting resources away from everyday Americans, lower-income households, disabled individuals, and children. That's where the cuts are landing. States are going to struggle, and politicians will try to deflect by claiming the savings come from removing undocumented individuals. But Medicaid legally cannot go to undocumented immigrants by federal statute. Some states independently chose to use state funds to provide coverage to undocumented residents, but that's a separate matter. On that note, I'm putting together a resource, a cheat sheet, that I'm working to finish up today. I'll post it in the YouTube description or comments, and it'll cover retirement, disability, Medicare, Medicaid, spousal benefits, and surviving spouse benefits. I'm also creating a specific cheat sheet on all these myths and misconceptions that are floating around. The idea is that when you're speaking with your elected officials, whether it's your governor, your congressional representative, or anyone else, and they try to feed you a misleading talking point, you'll have the facts right there in front of you. You'll be able to say, actually, that's myth number 6 on my list, and here's the accurate information. I'm hoping to have it ready today, and I'll make sure it's accessible for everyone as soon as it's done.